Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1998 direct-to-video film, The Patriot. Now, this is, in my opinion, the first film that Seagal did that was genuinely bad. Like, On Deadly Ground, yeah, it's got some bad things about it, but it's got some great action scenes. And Fire Down Below, I have some issues with, but I can legitimately enjoy that still for the action and for some other aspects of the movie. It's not one of my favorite Seagal films, but it's still one that I can watch and get some enjoyment out of. The Patriot, on the other hand, it is such a terminal film. Like, it is a terminal uh, case of boredom. Like, it really is. It is honestly one of the most dull and boring films in Seagal's entire filmography. But it is also one of his most fascinating and definitely one of the most odd films in Seagal's filmography because of its concept, because of the character that Seagal plays, and due to that, it's a film that I can't say that I'm a fan of or I particularly like, but I see more of an effort here with this movie, either from the director Dean Semler or from other people involved with the movie, where it seems like they're trying to make something that is decent. It doesn't turn out to be that, but I can see more of an attempt to try to do something that isn't just the same tired plot over and over again, like so many of Seagal's direct-to-video and direct-to-streaming films that he would do after The Patriot. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on the film, though, I would like to give a special shout out to Radic for requesting another review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal, my Patreon, or my Cash App. The links to all three are in the video description down below, and I will try to get your requests as soon as I possibly can. Now, The Patriot is directed by Dean Semler, and this is his second and actually his last film that he directed. In the same year, he directed his directorial debut with Firestorm, that starred Howie Long, and that's a film that I'm also not super big on, but I could definitely say it's a much better movie than this. Uh, but it is also a movie that's kind of disappointing in its own way. But Semler made his name as a cinematographer. He actually won an Academy Award for Dances with Wolves, and he had worked on countless other classic films prior to directing Firestorm and The Patriot. It's really surprising that Dean directed this movie of all things. Was he a Seagal fan? Did he get paid a pretty significant sum? Like, I would really like to know the story behind this because Semler seems like a guy who is really trying to start out his career as a director at this point, and I don't know why he would want to attach himself to Seagal's falling star, especially after Firestorm, which was not necessarily that successful in the box office. Maybe he did this first. I don't really know for sure. But either way, it's just a really strange fit for this movie. This is a film that it does benefit from Semler's presence, though. There's some gorgeous, beautiful nature photography in this. And there are some moments where this movie is elevated by Semler's direction. Despite its TV movie, Walker, Texas Ranger, two-parter plot line, it definitely feels like visually something that has an actual theatrical touch and flair to it. There's some push-in shots in particular that are actually quite impressive. There's some other wide shots that are well done. There's some good framing at points. But because of the fact that this is such a limited story with limited movement with the characters, and just a lot of moments throughout the movie where people are just driving around in a car, standing around with thumbs up their asses, hanging around in a hospital, or sitting down in a chair, staring at a computer screen, or hanging out in a military compound, doing experiments on people infected with a deadly virus, and like maybe 1 minute total of action. There's really not a lot for Semler to work with here as a director, which makes me really scratch my head as to why he was given this job to begin with. Like, if he was paid a decent sum to direct this movie, why the hell would you spend the money on Dean Semler when you could get a TV director? You could get a guy off the couch or off the street who could direct this movie just as capably. But I guess there were a lot of people involved with this movie that were so delusional, including Steven Seagal, that they felt that this was a theatrical feature. So I guess if that's what you were aiming for, then you would go with a director like Semler. But why the hell did they think that this was a theatrical feature? Like, this is not a theatrical movie. Like, this is a film that belongs direct to video, which is ultimately exactly what happened to it in the end. But yeah, Semler's not the problem here, but I can't say his direction is special as a whole or spectacular, but it is one of the better things about the movie. I'll definitely uh, give the film that. Now, it's written by M. Sussman and John Kingswell, and it's based on a book called The Last Canadian, and it's very loosely based on that book. There's only like a couple elements that are borrowed for this script. Otherwise, the two aren't alike at all. And this script is sus. It is such a suspect and idiotic and genuinely bad screenplay. For some reason, Seagal decided to make this his third entry in his ecological trilogy, which was some crazy, wild thing that he was trying to do around this time, because I guess Seagal watched too many episodes of Captain Planet and decided that he wanted to uh, save the world through his movies, which is such that is so bad. Like, if the fate of the world rested on Steven Seagal getting a message across in his movies, oh man, the world is screwed. It really is. So this is somehow part on deadly ground with its forced messaging and forced Native American mythology, but also part outbreak. The two don't really fit together well at all. The movie starts out in this small town in Montana called Ennis. And here you have a local doctor and former government research immunologist named Wesley McLaren, played by Steven Seagal, which is honestly the most ridiculous bit of casting since Tara Reid played a scientist in Alone in the Dark. I'm sorry, I don't buy it for 1 second that Steven Seagal is a brilliant virus scientist. Give me a fucking break. So he is a doctor in this town, and the sign really makes it very clear that he's not just a regular doctor, he is a nature doctor. So, he's a guy who has a lot of natural cures. So he's that kind of doctor. Wanted to make that very clear. Like, that really makes much of a difference. Well, it should, because since that is what his skill is, his skill set is in homeopathy and natural cures for diseases. Well, if that's the case, why wasn't that like the first place that he went to try to cure this virus? Since that's what he does? Because this script sucks. That's why. So, Wesley McLaren, he's called to a hospital to help after the judge, the local judge, comes down with a unknown disease, an unknown virus of some kind. And now other people in the town are starting to get sick as well. And the reason for the sickness is also incredulous. Somehow, some fat fuck yokel in Montana living in a trailer, he found a way to use, I guess, contacts within the local militia to get a hold of a top secret bio weapon, a biologically engineered virus. How the hell he got this, I have no idea. I mean, with his little podunk band of brothers, he found a way to actually break into a top secret military facility and steal a deadly virus. Okay. So he has this deadly virus, and he's in the middle of a spat with the local government and the local police, and he's also a conspiracy nut. Of course he is. So he decides to get back at the local police and the government, and just the government in general, by infecting himself with this deadly virus, giving himself up to the police, and then in spitting on the judge, infecting him with the virus, and then use his infection to be a bargaining chip with the US government. Because, oh, I have more of this, and if you don't give me what I want, I'll spread the virus further. Which, okay, all right. But at the same time, what is he even asking for? Like, that's the other problem. Like, it never really clarifies what the hell this guy is even asking for in the first place. Like, what is Floyd wanting out of all of this? Power? Is that just it? He just wants extra power and influence? It doesn't even seem like he's asking for money. Like, what the fuck is he even asking for in order to use this virus? This virus that, by the way, is also killing him, as well as his own militia and other people in the town. Oh, and conveniently, not only did he find a way to not also steal this deadly virus, but he also stole the anti-virus, like the antiviral solution, which in a twist doesn't actually work. So now the guy is shit out of luck, and he's dying along with the rest of his army, and other people in the town are sick and are dying too. And now it's up to this brilliant virus scientist played by Steven Seagal, who has the most questionable fashion choice out of honestly any of his movies. Like, what the hell is this wardrobe? He's wearing what looks like a mink coat that he stole from his grandma. He's wearing bright red shirts as if he's trying to do an audition to be the next Killer Tomato and in the next film in the Killer Tomatoes franchise, or to be the Kool-Aid man in the Kool-Aid advertisements on television. And this tomato of a scientist is all that stands between life and death. And he does experiments trying to figure out different ways to cure the virus after he breaks into this secret military facility, and he fails because pretty much all the military guys die except for this one military guy who is hanging on because he was being given wildflower tea by his assistant. And then that is the moment when he starts to put things together and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't infected by the virus and neither was my daughter and neither was this other assistant lady of mine. And we've all been drinking that tea with flowers in it. So let me do something with the tea and then maybe that'll be the cure." And it was. The cure was the flowers. Just like, what? You're not going to cure a virus with fucking flowers. That's not how this works. What is the science? Who wrote this shit? Like, who is responsible for this? Because this is some of the stupidest science I think I've ever seen in a film. Are you kidding me? The cure to a deadly biologically engineered virus, by the way, is a bunch of fucking flowers. And if that isn't bad enough, you have other things in this script that are equally as inane and equally as bad. It's another script where there's no characters that are at all likable or engaging, and there's no reason to give a fuck or give a shit about anybody in this story. I don't care about Dr. Wesley McLaren, especially when he's saying lines to his daughter, Holly, when she's working on her homework and he's seeing that she's having a hard time with a certain assignment, and he's all like, "Oh, the good parts are from me. The bad parts are from your mom." I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Like, really? The mother is not in the picture. I mean, you could assume that it could be either divorce or she's dead. And then you're gonna have the dad say a line like that. "Oh, when you do good, that's from me, but when you suck, it's from from your mom." What? So this guy's unlikable, and he's all equally unlikable because he's a moron. He's a homeopath who's all about natural remedies for shit and can't come up with the remedy being a flower that grows in his backyard. And then you have his friend Frank, who's a nothing character who winds up getting shot later, and you don't feel anything because you barely know anything about this guy except he's just a friend of Dr. McLaren's. You have um, this random Native American woman who's also a doctor named Dr. Ann Whitecloud, who tags along with McLaren after like the first hour of the story. You have the bad guys led by Floyd Chisholm and his crew, and they're not interesting, they're not charismatic, they're not fun. They're not the kind of villains you love to hate. They're just forgettable like most of this movie. So the characters are not well written. And then you have a Seagal movie where there's no action. Like, what the hell is that? There's like a little bit of a fisticuff moment where Seagal punches a soldier a couple times. And then there's like another little bit with a gun where like he knocks a gun out of a guy's hand. And then he winds up having a sit down with the leader of the militia and Floyd and breaks a wine glass and then stabs him in the head. And that's it. That's all you get for a Steven Seagal movie. You get nothing but the preachy ecological nature is better than medicine bullshit and none of the action. Brilliant idea. Now, I actually read somewhere that apparently there was more action, but it was cut out of the movie for some reason. And I don't know why. Because as it is, it's not even delivering what you expect from a Steven Seagal movie. You're expecting action, and you don't really get much of that at all. Like, what in the hell is this? Fucking quote. I mean, you can tell that there's no quote. It's not a quote. It's some shit that they made up to sell this movie. High caliber action? Where? There's no high caliber action in The Patriot. None to speak of. There's more scenes of dialogue and Seagal looking puzzled while wearing glasses and wearing his tomato shirt than there is any action scenes. The most action you get in this is actually not even anything involving Seagal. It's an attack by the militia on the hospital where they shoot up a bunch of military guys. That's your big action sequence in this movie. And then you get the finale, which is not much of anything. McLaren figures out that it's the flowers, and so he is now trying to let people know, but he winds up getting captured by the militia who have kidnapped his daughter because they want to take her blood and use it for a cure. And they wind up getting defeated rather easily, super quickly by Seagal, by McLaren, and their leader, the fearless leader, gets stabbed in the head with a part of a wine glass, and then he winds up providing the cure to the military, who drop the cure not in vials, not in like, okay, we got this solution, this formula to cure this antivirus with these flowers, and we're going to be providing that to everybody in the town. No, instead, you have an helicopter that just flies over the town with a loudspeaker that just says, "Hey, I know you're sick and some of you are dying, and there's probably some of you who have already died of this deadly virus, but we have a cure now, and it's a bunch of flowers. And here's the flowers." And then they just drop flowers. They drop petals on the ground in this town. And then they're just like, figure it out. I'm like, what the fuck? The hell? This is almost as stupid and bad of a way to cure a virus as the ending of Attack Force, when Seagal's character stops a viral plague by just blowing up a computer. It's not quite that bad, not quite that dumb, but it's close. I could not even believe what I was watching when it got to that moment. I was like, are you kidding me? It's just, oh, hey, we got the cure. It's flowers. Here's the flowers. Bye. Oh my God. The message of the movie is basically Steven Seagal telling people, you've got to stop and smell the fucking flowers. That's basically what the message of The Patriot is. Oh, what a bad movie. Now the cast is not much better. Steven Seagal was horribly miscast as the scientist. It is so laughable to try to watch him act like he's a scientist, talking all these scientist terms, talking about viruses and incubation periods and all this other shit. It is so fucking ridiculous, but not quite as ridiculous as his wardrobe in this. Gailard Sartain from the Ernest movies is in this as Floyd Chisholm, the leader of the militia group. He's fine, but there's really not a whole lot he can do with this character. The character is just very one note. And honestly, the character is so over the top when it comes to his redneck nature, and also when it comes to his conspiracy theory mindset, that he comes across like a parody you would see in the Chappelle Show, but it's played straight. Then you have LQ Jones, Three-Fingered Jack himself as Frank, the friend of McLaren. A thankless role, does the best he can, but I mean, there's nothing for him to work with here. Silas Mitchell plays Pogue, who I think is a member of he's a member of the militia. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about that performance either. Or Camilla Belle as Holly, Seagal's daughter. I will say this: I think she did a much better job here as a kid than she would do as an adult in the When a Stranger Calls remake. But that's really not saying much. And the rest of the cast is a whole bunch of nobodies, and who really gives a shit. Like, I mean, you got Molly McClure, who was in stuff like Mrs. Doubtfire and City Slickers 2, but it's not really a pretty significant role for her. You got Whitney Yellow Robe as Dr. Ann Whitecloud. You've got Seagal's actual daughter as an assistant, who I don't even think has any lines of dialogue, and Ayoko Fujiatani. But yeah, it's not really that great of a cast. And then the cinematography by Stephen F. Windun is not woeful, but it's also not wonderful. It's just very run of the mill, very in the middle in terms of quality. The editing by Derek Brescian at points is pretty poor. There are some moments where it's all right, but a lot of the time it's some pretty poor editing, which I think might be due to how much of this movie was cut. If the rumors are true that there was a bunch of scenes that were cut out of the movie. The music by Steven Edwards is awful. It sucks. It's so bad. It's laughable. It's either generic or really over the top with the Native American instrumentals and the choir and the chanting. And it's like 86 minutes, but it feels like it's twice as long because you don't really get into the characters that much. There's not really much at all in terms of action, and there's just so much about it that's just so dumb and so insipid and idiotic, and in a way that's not really entertaining or so bad it's good. It's just bad. But it's not the kind of bad movie though where I feel like I want to infect myself with a deadly virus to stop myself from watching any more of it. It's not that kind of film. It's just another typical boring, lame direct to video movie that in a lot of ways plays out like a dollar store outbreak. So yeah, I would have to say that you'll be in deep fucking shit if you decide to watch The Patriot. So unless you want to be in deep fucking shit, then I would probably say avoid this movie, like the plague. But that's my thoughts on The Patriot. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.